Okie doke. Well, welcome everyone to the Public Practice Accountants Club on Clubhouse, where public practitioner thought leaders, industry specialists and accountants just like you discuss hot topics in public practice and how they go about navigating the public practice landscape all around the world. So fundamentally, public practice is the same all around the world. We have the same principles, dynamics, challenges, no matter where we are. We might have different tax seasons, busy periods, and legislation, but at the core, we are very much the same. So our room this morning, and very well timed, I would say, in the run up to Christmas, how to manage overwhelm and to find more time. So I think I know most people in the room. Good morning, everybody. Very quick introduction from me. My name is Linda Steffens. I'm an accountant, author, and introvert, and I've spent the last 5 to 10 years coaching and educating accountants. But I want to give an extra big welcome and shout out to my co-host this morning, Kyelie Baxter. Just last week on Friday, she won the Small Business Advisor of the Year at the Women in Finance Awards. Congratulations, Kyelie. I'm so excited for you.
Thank you. Yeah, that was a thrill, actually. It was a bit of an anticlimactic thrill because the event was being held in Sydney and being based in Queensland. Could not cross the border at that time. You know what? I think I technically could have, but I only sort of realised that quite late in the piece. And anyway, it was all just a bit too hard basket. But yeah. Yes, I was very surprised to hear my name read out and see it on the big screen like that. And most excitingly, I also got to talk to Jessica Rowe.
Oh, did you? That's fabulous. Yeah. A little superstar moment. Good on you.
I'm really excited to win that award because it has been such a hard slog with my SME clients over the last 2 years. And I guess, you know, you spend so much time with that particular group of clients, not only through COVID, but all the time. But the reward is getting to work with them, you know, like
Absolutely.
I feel like I'm part of their businesses. So, thanks, Linda. That was really exciting.
No, you're very welcome. And we're very privileged to have you chatting with us as well today. So thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule, because I know it is very busy this time of year. Okay, so just before we kick off the conversation, just a quick reminder, our intention is always to be positive, supportive and collaborative as we come together in support of our amazing industry, no matter where we are in the world. Now, of course, Kyelie and I would love you to join the discussion. If you're listening to us in Clubhouse, all you need to do is to tap your little microphone icon and or raise your hand, and we can help you come up onto stage and you can ask us a question, just say hello or join the discussion. If you're listening to us live anywhere out on Facebook or LinkedIn, you can also comment over there as well. So we're watching out for those. So we'd love you to join the discussion. Also too, just in the Clubhouse world, they have now put up for us a thing called replays. So if you go into the Public Practice Accountants Club, you can look at our previous rooms that are there. It's only the last probably 6 weeks, I suppose, that's been available. So if at any time you want to re-listen to something or, you know, just maybe help you fall asleep one night, something like that, the replays are there for you to listen to. All right, so our room this morning, how to manage overwhelm and find more time. We've always got too many things on our to-do list, haven't we? As you know, surprise meeting, clients pop in, phone calls, shifting deadlines. There are 1,000 reasons why we might fall into a state of overwhelm at work or just generally. If you've ever experienced this, and I certainly have, you'll know that at this point we do start to shut down. Small tasks just become huge mountains to climb, and it's bad news both for our productivity and our mental health. So we're going to dig into that a little bit today and have a look at that specifically with the lens, obviously, on public practice accounting. But the thing is also too that, you know, in our general lives, our work lives are just becoming increasingly demanding. They're presenting us with ever more complex challenges at an almost new relentless pace, and adding personal stuff into that, family needs, and it's easy to actually feel constantly overwhelmed. So our typical response to that is just to work harder. Put in longer hours, we'll get it done, knuckle down, all that sort of bizzo, rather than step back and really examine what's happening or perhaps look at a new way of operating. So just something I was reading during the week in preparation for this chat this morning, the cognitive impact of feeling perpetually overwhelmed can range from mental slowness, forgetfulness, confusion, difficulty concentrating or thinking logically, to the other end of the spectrum, to a racing mind, an unimpaired ability to actually problem solve, and a whole lot of other things. So when we have too many demands on our thinking over an extended period of time, we actually get this thing called cognitive fatigue, which making us prone to even more distractions, thinking even less agile, less on the spot, and any of these effects alone simply make us less effective and leave us even feeling more overwhelmed. So it's one of those, rat races sort of thing. You get on a wheel and it can often be very hard to get off. So as accountants, I know that I want to help clients. That's why I do what I do. I want to help my colleagues. I want to help my team, but we're not helping anybody when we're actually in this state of overwhelm and particularly doing damage to ourselves and our own mental health. So, Kyelie, I'd certainly know that list of when I was reading that list of cognitive impacts. Wow, I'd certainly had a few of them over the years. How about yourself?
Yeah, like I can definitely relate to that. And it's actually funny because I can also see it in some of my team members, particularly at this end of the year. Like it gets really pointy,
Sure does.
I know that as a boss, like I'm completely guilty of upping the ante at this time of year because I have a rule about December, we're not going the week before Christmas.
No.
So that means that we need to get that work done earlier in December so that we can deliver those outcomes to them earlier, which puts a lot more pressure on my staff. And when my staff feel more pressure, then I see some of those things come out in them. And yeah, sometimes the questions do get asked like, well, how am I supposed to do that? Like it's like, we'll work harder or work smarter.
Yeah.
Not harder. How?
Yes, how?
So
that's exactly
really
right.
Interesting to unpack that.
Yes. Yeah. I know I've certainly seen that in colleagues, when I was back working in larger accounting firms, time and time again, you just see them lose momentum in doing any of the work and sort of just going around in circles. And, just sitting down, like it says there, those small tasks become insurmountable. The fact of sitting down and even being able to write a to-do list with priorities just became impossible for them. So as I played a role in firms where I actually, if I saw that happening, I would go in, we'd sit down, and that's all we would do is write that to-do list with the priorities. And that just brought some clarity and a little bit back to people. So that's certainly something you can do. But let's unpack that a little bit more. So what the experts are saying to us is if we can look at this overwhelm, firstly, and try to pinpoint where it's coming from. So what is it specifically that, might just take off 80% or so, the old 80-20 rule? What's going to take away 80% of our stress right now? And, if you just take, 5 or 10 minutes to do that, you might be surprised by the outcome.
Yeah, I agree.
And
Linda, sorry, you go.
That's all right. So I think that's part of it. There's no magic pill, I think, with regard to overwhelm. We can't just say, do this, do that, and it will fix it. It's something that, firstly, it's a little bit hard to recognize in yourself. And then it's like, okay, well, what do we actually do about it? And particularly, of course, I talk about accountants and our profile and our natural instincts all of the time. For those of us that, are high achievers and have a fair sprinkling of perfectionism, overwhelm, we can be subject to this quite a bit, actually. And so it's all these distractions, I think, for us with regard to our personality, Kyelie, which is where I'd like to delve into a little bit. So focused work tends to work better for us, but we've got clients, we've got colleagues, we've got teams. They all want questions answered. They want to phone us. They want to talk to us. Do you think that a lot of perhaps overwhelm might come from that area?
Absolutely, because at the end of the time, people like to feel like they're in control. And particularly for accountants, generally, and I'll make the generalization, you come up through the ranks, you know what I mean? So you come up from being a junior where you don't really have that much distraction except for someone coming to check on you. So you get to work, you get to structure your day, and you really just get to get stuff done, which is great. Like, I would love that now. You know, how amazing would that be?
Yes.
Just get the work done.
Yes.
Fantastic.
Yes.
So your job in that respect changes without you really realizing it, because as you sort of mature throughout your career path, you still need to get that work done, but then all these other distractions come in. And when I say distractions, that's not a bad word.
No,
it's
correct.
Clients, it's staff, it's peers, it's all these other wonderful things that add so much value to your job. But nevertheless, they take away from getting some work done. And whether that works for clients or advisory or whatever
it is,
it doesn't really matter. It's getting work done.
That's exactly right.
Let's just call it billable work, you know. So I think that's where I see staff and even employers get really quite stressy. And it happens a lot, I think, when you're in growth phase, particularly, because we've still got that employer particularly really on the tools working. So they're out there trying to get the clients, trying to drum up work, trying to keep everyone happy, trying to review everything and do some billables themselves. And it's just like,
it's crazy. You're wearing so many hats, right? And you know that's just something then that, you know, we take on and we just go, well, I should be able to do this, so, you know, work harder, you know, just keep doing longer hours. But like I said in the beginning, that can just lead to even more overwhelm. So what is it then that we have to do to maybe challenge that assumption, you know, around the working harder, do you think?
So when we feel that, the problem with that is that we're no longer completely in control of our day. We're no longer completely in control of our time. So what we need to do is we need to take back the control, or the part that we can control. So this is where to-do lists come into play. It's where time blocking comes into play. It's where managing staff and client expectations comes in. You know, you need to be able to control the part that you can, because otherwise you just start the day thinking in your head, I'm going to get this done, and you end the day thinking, I did not get that done, and feel all the feels about that, and then start the next day and feel all the feels again. And I say this, and John's not in the room this morning, but I've said this to him so many times because he knows this is one of my favorite sayings. The definition of insanity is expecting a different outcome when you're doing the same thing over and over again. But that's what seems to happen. And it's not because we do that intentionally. It's just because we're on this merry-go-round.
That's it. And you know, we are who we are, and that's how we attack things. So there's nothing wrong with that. It's just when it reaches that level that it does become problematic. Then, you know, we do need to, perhaps you're saying there, challenge our own assumptions around things, you know, challenge our thinking around that. I know I've had some accountants say to me, well, if I'm not there or I'm not doing it, who's going to do it? And if I'm not doing it, maybe people might question my value, or what am I doing every day? You know, what's my role in the business again? So often you will find this as you transition, like you said before, we're going from team member into a management or into partnership or ownership of your own business. There's a lot of that happens. Another one around this perfectionism, not dropping the ball. If something falls through the cracks, it could just be disastrous. Well, will it really? You know, I think you could always come back from most things, but some of us find ourselves thinking that, and they're really limiting our beliefs around what we have to do or how much pressure we need to put on ourselves. But you bring a good point there. It's bringing structure to your day. That's what you were telling me. And I heard a lot of little tips and tricks in there.
Yeah, so let's talk about some practical steps that we can take
Absolutely.
to manage our time and try to manage this overwhelm that we feel. To-do list. The format of to-do list has so many options these days. You can do an electronic to-do list. You can have a good old paper and pen. You can keep it on your phone. I think you have to find whatever works best for you. But what I find when I'm talking to people that say, to-do lists don't work for me, is that they actually have a to-do list on every single one of those platforms.
Too many to-do lists.
It sort of makes me realize, well, hang on, if you've got sort of more than one to-do list, which to-do list is actually the actual to-do list? Oh, no, they're both the to-do lists. Well, which one is
where's the priority?
Both of them.
Yes.
So I guess I just want to talk about my top tips for to-do lists.
Sure.
So I do use, surprise, an electronic to-do list. I use My Remarkable to make that to-do list, and it is a living document that changes each morning. I like the idea of being able to tick something off. Like, I'm one of those type personalities that likes to tick off or cross off that I've done it, and see actionable items like, yes, I'm actually achieving something. So by the end of the day, if I see, I didn't get those things done, it's okay because I got all these things done, and that just rolls to my next day's list. That's fine. I have things that I need to achieve today, things that I need to achieve this week, and things that are on the this month. I've got to put them on this month sometimes. So less important things. So already we're realizing that I'm prioritizing in my to-do list, and that's what's happening there. I can't remember the name of the book, but I think it's something like Eat the Frog or something like that. And the concept of it is do the hard things first. Do you know the book I'm talking about, Linda?
I do. I can't recall exactly the title either, but certainly it's all about frogs and eating frogs. Yes.
Yeah, it's not something I do, but it's like do the hard things first. And I'm a really big believer in that. And I think when you start really thinking about, okay, if I'm going to do a to-do list and I'm going to, write down all the things that I want to achieve, you need to be really realistic about what that looks like. So when I talk to my staff and when I start my staff on the to-do list journey, I always go, okay, go do your to-do list and then come back. And they come back and they've got this list. And I'm like, okay, so is that today? Yes, this is today. I'm like, all right, let's write down how long these things are going to take you. And it's like 16 hours worth of work. And I'm like, awesome. So you'll be here till midnight tonight. You're like, amazing. They just look at me like, I never thought about it. And I'm like, doing your job within pretty much your working hours, unless something goes wrong or it's a busy time of the year.
Correct. Yes.
We're not doing it right, you know.
Yeah.
So they just look at me like, so you have to really consider how long things are going to take you, what else you've got going on that day, look at your calendar. As you're planning out your to-do list and working out what you've got on this week, that means that we start blocking out times in our calendar where we can't have meetings. Really the to-do list is like the jumping platform for your calendar as well, and how you're going to live your working life. So I think it's step one.
Yeah, perfect.
So if you don't have a to-do list or you don't have a working to-do list, I think that's a great place to start.
So I'm just going to pull that apart a little bit, Kyelie. So I love that you said, let's be realistic. You really want to spend 16 hours here today? No one wants to do that. And look, it's a human trait. It's natural for us to overestimate how much we can actually do in one day and underestimate then how much you can do in a year. That's out there in public knowledge, that's how we roll. So for us to be realistic, and that's a little bit tricky for us because we just can see all of this stuff that we need to do. So my question to you, Kyelie, is then, okay, we've got this great big unrealistic list, if that's where we start. And we cut it back. We want to cut it back, but where do we put these other things that we know we've got to do so we don't lose them, so they're safe? What would you do with them? Because clearly there's, we don't want to have to use the energy to rethink about what I'm supposed to be doing the next day. We don't want to lose it.
like, it depends. Some of those paper ones have like a weekly one. You could sort of
Yeah.
put them on the other days. It just depends how you want to work.
Okay.
For me personally, I put it on my this week section of my to-do
Got it.
list.
Perfect.
And I might just like pencil like the letter of the day that I want to do it as a suggestion. But I have to be quite flexible because I've got staff coming at me all the time. So I'm not married to my to-do list.
Yes.
Because I know that I need to roll with it.
Yes.
Like if I get really stringent, lots of my staff/children's staff, like my little babies, get very cross with me.
And even your clients too, if clients come in with and there's something that you really have to deal with, you do have to be flexible with that. So starting with that realistic thing is first, first and foremost. But then I like that flexibility. So you've got the ability to move things around. I didn't get it done today. Okay, that might go out to this week's checklist or this year's or sometime, whatever that looks like. So it's flexibility around that, and to not be afraid to shift the goals for the day. It's okay. It does not mean you have failed. It just means you're resetting priorities. And something that I see with to-do lists, again, where accountants go wrong, well, I see it in accounting in generally, as you're coming through the ranks and you first start doing your journal entries and whatever, and you try to put everything you want to change into one journal entry. And it's like your reviewer comes back and goes, what the heck were you trying to do here? I can't follow your thought pattern because you've tried to put too much in one thing. That's a trait of ours, that we just try to put everything into. I see it with meetings as well. We try to talk about everything in one meeting. We think we're saving time, but we're not. We're actually creating confusion and even overwhelm, which is what we're talking about today. So try not to put everything on that today or to-do list. Is spread it out. Yeah.
That's a really good point. So I talk to my staff about that as well. Like if they've got a job that they've got to get done, don't just write the client name. Like actually write the part of the job that you want to get done, so that then you feel like you've achieved that step or that check mark in the job. So if you want to get to queries, write 2 queries. Like make it something that is deliverable for you. Yes.
And so you're saying there, be specific about what it is. That's something I know I've trained when we start to do morning huddles and things like that with a team. It's like, don't just say I'm doing Mr. Smith's work today. What am I doing? I'm reconciling to the trial balance. I'm finishing off the tax returns. What am I doing? So break it down into manageable pieces, because if you just put Mr. Smith's work on your to-do list, Mr. Smith could be 3 weeks worth of work. And then that in itself, even though you only want to do the one little bit today, but that in itself is counterproductive to how we feel about our to-do list. Because like you said, you like the tick thing. I want to go and tick something off. There's a visceral action that happens when you do that. There's good little endorphins go through our body when we can tick something off as complete. You'll never be able to tick Mr. Smith off in one day if he's 3 weeks worth of work. Counterproductive.
Right. And
yes.
Yeah.
Excellent.
It's about being human about it.
It is. So breaking it down, being realistic, consider how long each thing is going to take, and have some flexibility in that to-do list. So I'm not as quite as hip and happening as you, Kyelie Baxter, but I use a combination of pen and paper and technology. But I know that my to-do list absolutely is very flexible. And I certainly don't get to the end of the day. I'm moving stuff around all the time and creating different due dates and when I want to do things. And you know yourself when things become critical and what days they need to actually have happen. Okay, so I think we've pretty much covered off to-do lists. So that's very cool. And I just want to, for those of you in the Clubhouse room this morning, if you want to join our discussion, please just raise your hand. We'd love to hear about your to-do list, or what you do, what you find works for you, or if you've even experienced some of this overwhelm from time to time. Please come up and chat with us. And of course, in the other environments, you can post comments along the way as well. All right, to-do lists. What else, Kyelie, do you use as far as structure or, helping manage these the possibility of overwhelm?
Yeah, probably the thing to talk about now is time blocking. I'm a massive time blocking fan.
Yeah.
So for those of you who don't know, time blocking is basically what it sounds like. It's about blocking sections of your day for specific things. So I listened to this amazing podcast, and it started for me where I turned off all the notifications on my phone.
Yeah.
Because what was happening inevitably for me was I was getting a message, then I was getting a LinkedIn notification, then Facebook notification, then blah, blah. So even if I went to my phone to just look at a work email, there was all these things that sort of go down the rabbit hole. I think we're all guilty of that at times. So I turned off notifications to my phone, which meant that I would only go to my phone for a specific reason. And then if I just wanted to sort of spend 10 minutes to hang around, then I could go and look at all those things. Changed my life, and it actually changed the way I felt about
Interesting.
my phone. Yes, it was very interesting, and it allowed me to be more present in wherever I was at that time, which was really good as well. So same with my watch. I don't allow my watch to just ding all the time either, which I think is one reason people get rid of their smartwatches as well.
Yes.
So I do time blocking. That is like my life at work. So I do not have my emails open all day. So I will come in, check my emails. I actually check my emails in the morning before I come to the office. So I already know which ones I need to respond to and which ones can wait. I'll come in, respond to those emails, and I only have like a certain period of time, maybe 15 minutes, and I just whack out the responses, save them into document manager, and then that's it. And I won't check them again, depending on what I've got that day until whatever. Like I won't keep them open. And even if I don't have a meeting, if I've got a staff member in front of me, or if I've got some work that I'm actually doing, you know, if I'm doing an advice piece or whatever, I don't keep my emails open because they're a distraction. So time blocking is just working on one thing at a time, because I have a saying, I have a lot of sayings. I have a saying, which is, let's just do one thing well.
Yes. We love all your sayings, Kylie.
I think that goes hand in hand with time blocking.
Yes, it does.
Yeah, I like them too. But yeah, like let's just do one thing well. And I think that really supports time blocking greatly, because then it also allows you to work in quick, short, sharp bursts, so you don't get bored. Like not that I really get bored, but I like to do things efficiently. Surprise! Yes. So I love the challenge of like going into my inbox and going, oh, there's like 20 emails there. And now I've given myself 20 minutes to deal with them. That's one per minute, quick go. And sometimes I don't have time to deal with it. So sometimes the response is, hey, thanks, I've seen your email. I'm going to get back to you by tomorrow.
Yes, that's a really big thing. And what you've just said in all of that, there's absolute wisdom in everything that Kyelie just said in the last, 3 minutes there, was, a number of things. First, it was challenging your assumption about, do you have to be notified all of the time and, on point all of the time? No, it is disruptive to your environment. It is overwhelming, and it's not, you're not being present with where you probably should be. So consider turning off notifications on your mobile phone. I know I've got all mine turned off. The only one that is on is the text message. That one does come through to me because that's people know, anybody that knows me, if you need me urgently, you text me and I will respond. If they use that or abuse that, well, they get a talking to. So, it's about challenging those assumptions. It's also setting boundaries on your time and on your workload as well. So knowing that you can't be dealing with everything. That simply is going to put you right in the box seat for some overwhelm. Because we've been hearing about forever that, let's turn off email notifications. We've been talking about that for a long time. Block out your time, turn off your email notifications. The next iteration of that is our wonderful smartwatches that we wear, which you also mentioned, Kyelie. They're fine, but you've got to control how often they're dinging or, notifying you. I see accountants wearing them and I just cringe a little bit. It's like, I think it's the worst thing you could have, because you're just constantly drawn all the time and you're on all the time. And, we have enough of that with the people that we deal with. But if you want to wear your smartwatch, be smart about wearing your smartwatch. Turn some of the notifications off like Kyelie has. I think that's a really great idea. All right. So then just with emails, because that's a whole nother topic again, isn't it? So you mentioned emails, and of course our inboxes are constantly full and constantly stuff's dinging and coming in there all of the time. You mentioned allocating time to doing that, Kyelie, and then sometimes if you don't have time, what then do you do with the emails? Again, that thing, I don't want to lose it, I don't want to, what do you do?
So I will respond to every email quickly, and sometimes the response is, I can't do this now, but I'll get back to you, and then that becomes part of my to-do list, maybe for the next day.
Yes.
Or I allocate it to a staff member. Like,
yeah,
you just have to delegate sometimes.
That's it.
So it's like sometimes my emails are full of silly things, like, hey, can I have a copy of, like, I don't know why they're asking me for a copy of the 1999 tax return. I'm like, oh, did you check the portal? Then done.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, stuff like that.
Yeah. And I think the thing is important. Yeah, I think the important thing is, and what we don't do enough of, particularly my top tip with email, it's a mindset shift actually, is to realize that there's actually two things going on in your email inbox. One is that there's the notification of something coming in, and then there's the actual work that comes in that email. Now, you just mentioned, Kyelie, some emails have a little bit of work, some almost none. It's a flick, put in the delete, whatever it is. Others might be a full advice letter, which is going to take a day or whatever to do. So they are different. Realize that every email is not equal, and to be able to divide up two tasks when it comes to managing your inbox. One is around managing the inbox and the emails and what I will do with them. The second one is doing the work. They need two different time slots. So a general rule of thumb that I like to use is, if you can do it in 2 minutes or less, then deal with the email. If you can't do it in 2 minutes or less, put it somewhere, put it on that to-do list. When do I need to do it? So that you are aware of it, but take it out of your inbox maybe and put it in a folder or something like that, because your inbox is really a digital pile of papers. And leaving a whole lot of 200 emails in your inbox is punishment. It says to you, I haven't done all my work. I'm behind. I'm not working hard enough. It says all of those things. Guess what it's doing? It's creating overwhelm in that because all you're looking at is a great big pile of digital papers. And the energy that it takes when you go in and just simply look at it, to even flick through that digital pile of papers, I don't know that that's worth it. So there's a lot of things that you can do around your inbox. If you want, look, zero inboxing has been around forever. It's changed my life. I love zero inboxing. I get it that it's not for everybody, but the principle sitting in behind that, which is the 2-minute rule, that was one of them, is that you can use just some of those small things to make a little difference. So emails are a big deal for us because that's how generally our work comes. Our work comes in our emails. All right. So
it's probably also a good time. Linda, to talk about your internal processes within your office with emails as well.
Absolutely.
We have a rule that we don't have any internal emails. And the reason for that is because we have a different app that we use, which is Slack. I know from experience that when you do allow internal emails, they not only drive you crazy, but B, they just clog up your email inbox. And sometimes you'll come back and there'll be so many that it's just like reading them backwards to figure out what's going on.
And that takes extra time, right? You're like, oh, yeah, no, I saw that. Oh, no, I didn't see that. And trying to follow the thread can just be, a whole lot of time you really didn't need to spend.
Or people don't read them.
No.
Or that happens too.
Yes. And then you still got to say it again anyway.
Exactly. It's really frustrating. So basically people might not read them, or they delete them, or they might just keep them in their inbox, and then they end up with like 1,000 emails that aren't read. which as a boss makes me feel really uncomfortable because what if a client one gets lost in there,
Exactly.
So I highly recommend moving to some other platform for internal discussion, because it's trackable. There's always a record. There's so many other add-ons that you can do in there with task management and that sort of thing. Because another way, I think, for me, something that always really worried me was when I would give people verbal instructions and then I would feel like I would have to remember in my brain to go back to that person and say, did you do that? Or train them to come back to me and say, hey, I've done it. And it was just drove me nuts, really. So it was stress on them, stress on me. So one of the things that we do use is Slack. There's task management in there. We do that through Kyelie, and it's simple. We set them tasks for anything, any little thing. Like if a client asks us to provide something to the bank, we will set someone a task to do that, and then they just complete the task. I get a notification that it's done. They know that it's done. It's easy. There's no verbal discussion about it. I can check at any time of the day or night whether they've done that. It's excellent.
Cool.
Yeah,
and
so
I think
I definitely find that a game changer.
Yeah. And so that task management around and that clear visual thing to be able to see if something's done or where it's, or not even where it's at, but at least it's being looked at, that someone's got their eyes on it, they're paying attention to it. And look, even if you don't have some of this task management, you can communicate when things are done. You don't need a long email. I've taught a lot of teams to just use what I call the done it email. And so if someone sends you an email, it's still floating around in their head going, is it done? Is it done? I wonder if they're doing it. Where are they up to? Whether we like it or not, we'll hang on to it. So when someone does a small task for you, we should not forget to communicate and just go done. Boom. That's it. Oh, Linda's done it. Great. That's off my to-do list. It's out of my head. Yay. So the done it email. So if you don't have that task management, but again, that's something in our personality and in our traits. We're not the natural communicators. That's not how we process. We process by thinking. So we think, oh, I've done it. That's cool. But we forget to say it out loud or communicate it. So the good old little done it email. So if anybody out there in Clubhouse or out listening to this anywhere, if you've got a comment or you'd like to have a chat with us, join the discussion, please, we'd love you to say hello. Okay. So, Kyelie, we went back. I'm just going to go back a little bit to, well, not to doing the to-do list again, but when should we maybe look at doing this, and what does the structure of our day look like? So how do we control overwhelm? We get to the end of the day's just gone completely off track. We've done one thing, if we're lucky, on that to-do list that we actually were being reasonable about. What do we do then?
Yeah, look, I think in that case, it's about getting ready for the next day. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I like to prepare the day before and then I readdress it that next morning just to see that nothing's changed. Has an appointment cancelled? Have they all been confirmed? What's going on? Has something urgent come up overnight that I'm just being made aware of now? So, and you need to be flex as well. But I like to prepare it the day before. So that's the last thing I do before I go is get ready for the next day, because
Perfect.
Then you come in knowing what you're doing. Now that doesn't always work, because sometimes I'm not here in the afternoon for some reason, or sometimes an appointment goes late or whatever. Like, you need to be flexible. But in the perfect world, I do it before I leave for the next day.
But if you get that even 3 out of 5 days, you're doing pretty good. I think that's the thing. This is challenging our perfectionism. And what we do is, if I don't get it 5 out of 5, then what's the use doing with it? And out goes the baby with the bathwater. That's not it. 3 out of 5 is pretty good. And that's a pass mark in my, my book. That means that 3 out of 5 days, you got less chance of being overwhelmed than the other 2 when you didn't do it. And what you will see is, even if you're only achieving those couple of days, actually organizing your day the day before, is that you'll know the days that just go a bit crazy. And I guarantee you probably haven't thought, organized the day before. And what you start to learn through that pain is that, oh, it's really, really important that I actually sit down, take 15, 20 minutes, however long it takes you, to reflect and go, all right, what's my day tomorrow need to look like? It's that concept of taking time to save time. And, something that probably doesn't sit very well with us, but that's the concept that you need to do. The other thing for me around, I call it my end of day routine, and there's a few other bits and pieces in there. I'm the same. It actually sits in my calendar, and I've got end of day routine. It sits there at 4:30 in the afternoon, every afternoon. I reckon I probably achieve 3 out of 5. Certainly don't get, 5 out of 5. I know that I'll pay for it the next day, but I still, that's I'm doing something. But the thing is about putting your thoughts, putting everything into a safe place, whether that's on a paper list, in your task management, on an electronic to-do list, whatever that is. Take it out of your head where it's not safe and where it has the capacity to roll around during the night when you're supposed to be present with family, doing things for family, perhaps taking some your time for yourself. Sleeping. Oh gosh, that's a good one. We don't really want our to-do lists to interrupt our sleeping. That's not great. You wake up at 3 a.m. and go, oh crap, did I do that? I don't remember. Because your subconscious will play a very big role in overwhelm. So please, if anything that you can do is spend 20 minutes at the end of your day. And it doesn't matter. There's no set time frame for the end of the day. Like you said, Kyelie, we've got to be flexible. So some days our days might end at 4. They might end at 5:20. They might end at 6:45 in the evening. Whatever that is, still, if you can take the next 15 minutes or 20 minutes just to look, what did I get done today? What do I still need to do? Update that to-do list and go, okay, tomorrow's set.
I think that is the exact reason you just said then, Linda, as to why it's important to have your to-do list out of your head. Because there's a lot of people that are probably listening thinking, yeah, I just keep my to-do list in my head. I know what I've got to do. I'm just working through it. But it's that subconscious thing as to why you actually need to get it out, because that's why you wake up in the middle of the night and go, did I do that? Oh, when am I going to do that? Oh, no, I just thought about what's happening with that. I didn't ask that staff member if they did this. Where's that at?
Yes.
I definitely noticed the difference when I started doing this actual process as far as that anxiety as to where things were at. And it's ridiculous, really, but it is about just getting it out of your head.
Absolutely. And I can see that Scott's raised his hand in Clubhouse. So if you're listening out there, Scott, sorry, is a little bit slow in giving you access. Oh, here he is. Good morning, Scott. How are you doing today?
Good morning. Driving, but very well, thank you.
That's good.
Hi, Scott.
Oh, you okay? You're not. Did you have a question for us?
I didn't like. I don't do the end of day thing, and that's really something I should do.
Okay, great.
I think I mentioned before, I keep a bullet journal.
Okay.
I found that like it's a manual book that can be, like it's a diary book that you set up.
Yes.
And that's quite a cool little process. And he's got a book. Of course, that explains it all. But there's a 4-minute video that explains the parts of that book. Like that's a cool little way of doing it manually.
Okay, cool. What was that called? A bullet diary. Do you know the author?
Bullet journal.
Bullet journal. All right, there we go, everybody. You might want to look into that. There's a tip, because yes, that's good. So Kyelie, you're aware of that author as well, are you, or that technique?
I have seen that. It's got I think I've read about it. It's like rapid logging or something like that.
Yeah. Okay.
He might be gone now. I don't know.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's it. That's it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent.
You put it all down on paper.
Yeah.
And in a notation way, so then you can work out what
I'm pretty
thoughts up.
sure there is an iOS app.
Just going to say, Kylie's not going to like that if you're going to bring paper back into my life. But there is, still, Kylie, even with your Remarkable, and I've seen that device, it acts very much like a manual notepad. It's just in a digital. Yeah, you get that same visceral thing of writing something down or ticking it off or crossing it off, whatever that is. So that's the important thing, is that, we're involving movement and body and feeling into stuff that we're doing. And I know that might sound a little bit out there for accounting, particularly at 7:45 in the morning. But yeah, subconscious, visceral feeling, all of that creates a whole lot of hormones and good stuff that goes around in our body that helps us, not be in a position to be overwhelmed. So thank you, Scott. Appreciate that tip. If anyone else has got any other tips for us, we'd love to hear them as well. Please just raise your hand and say hello. All right. So we've talked about structure in our day. We've talked about to-do lists, about how to manage emails. Something I want to talk about, Kylie, is really, it's about challenging those assumptions again, setting boundaries on our time and our workload, but it's around sitting back and having a look at, are we really spending our time or focusing our time in the right areas for what we're supposed to be doing? So a lot of that can be then too, we talked about those transition periods, where you go from perhaps a team member into some sort of management or reviewing role, or then up into, ownership, directorship, going out on your own, all of those sorts of things. Are we focusing our time in the right areas, and how would we work that out? Like for you, how do you split your week?
Great question. My week is actually determined by my calendar. So, what client appointments have I got on, and what do my staff need me for that week? So that's really how that works. And I've also shared, in this room, that I do dedicate time to spend with each one of my staff members. That's I don't put that in my calendar. Like, it's not a formal thing that they're really that aware of. It's just something that I keep on my to-do list that I make sure happens.
Yes.
I think it comes down to, do we know what our role is at each time? You know what I mean?
Good point.
So for us as business owners, like if we've got business partners, what's our role in this business partner relationship? Are we the ones that are supposed to bring in clients? Because if we are, how are we doing that? And are we spending time doing that?
Yes.
Are we responsible for professional development? Because if we are, what are we doing about that? Are we, organising that? Are we pinpointing the areas that we need work in, or the particular staff are lacking in? Are we making champions for things? So I think it really comes down to understanding what your role in your firm is at each particular step or milestone in your career. And sometimes you have to ask that.
Yes.
What is my
Yes. And even of yourself, isn't it? You have to sit back and have a look, go, well, what should my role be? If I want to go from where I am now to where I want to be, where will I be most valuable in that journey?
100%. So for me personally, like in the past, my role has definitely been, hey, let's grow and let's bring in new clients. That is not my role at the moment.
No.
My role at the moment is to 100% make sure that we are keeping the promises to our existing clients, because it's about servicing existing clients and doing all of those sorts of things, because we are at absolute capacity. We're probably over capacity, if I'm super honest. So, like your role changes, and it's about not just putting this blanket over your head and going, oh, that's what I used to do, so that's what I'm going to keep doing. You really have to reassess that.
Yes.
It's a really important thing.
And look, we, as accountants, we sit very comfortably in the technical aspects of what we do, in the doing of the work. We get those little accounting moments like, woohoo, that worked, I achieved that, I did that. We love that. But when it comes to these times where you're transitioning through your career and your role is perhaps changing, you've got to look at the role of actually doing work in that. Because if you're trying to wear so many hats all of the time and try to get, the work done of one person plus manage a business or manage a team and service clients, bringing you of course you're going to get overwhelmed. It's too much. So it's again comes back to challenging our perfectionism, being realistic about what we can do. But where should we be focusing our time? Now, if you want to Google anything around this, look, the concept that I'm talking about here a little bit is your ideal week. So that's out there. It's been out there all of the time, and it's worthwhile. We're having maybe, hopefully everyone's having a few weeks break over Christmas. You might want to think about where you're spending your time. Because if you are feeling like you're ending up in a little bit of overwhelm and you feel like you're just being pulled so many different ways, what could you do about that? And perhaps that might help just to take some time to think about that. Okie doke. Another question for you, Kylie. All right. So, and I know exactly how you're probably going to answer this. So you would have, no, I shouldn't assume anything. So you would have certain things that you do on certain days, or your sayings or your rules about stuff. Do you find that is easy to stick to, or do you have to communicate around what those rules are for you? What's that look like?
They're easy to stick to when you communicate clearly and you explain the why.
Yeah, okay.
So this comes a lot into clients. So I think you said something before, which I was a bit like, I'll bring it up later. And you said, sometimes clients will have an emergency and you'll need to see them that day. It's a drop everything thing. I feel like we're accountants. I don't think there's a such thing generally as a client emergency, because we're accountants, not like
you're not a brain surgeon or a heart. Yes, good point. Very good point.
So generally, if there's a client emergency, it's because they haven't planned.
Yeah.
Or they've come to us too late.
Yes.
So I really educate my clients about not getting to emergency phase.
Yeah,
so if they get to emergency phase, they come to us with their tail between their legs going, I've come to you too late.
They know already. It's like, oh my goodness, I'm going to be in trouble.
I agree with that. There's no emergency. There's no emergency. The only thing I've dealt with is people buying something in a wrong structure. And of course, again, that's something that they could have done. If they're going to an auction or they're expecting something, they could
have chatted to you beforehand.
Get the advice and something set up beforehand.
Yes.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Yes.
100%. You're going to have quick things like, quick questions where it's like time sensitive, totally fine. Like that, but that's quick, right?
Yes.
That's not, hey, I need a tour.
That's not emergency.
The world's falling apart.
Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah. So it's a very rare day, and I actually did have one this month where it was, drop everything. This is big for this client, but it was completely out of their hands and just one of those things. So, but that is rare. Like I reckon that happens less than once a year where it's an actual emergency, So what clients think is an emergency and what's an actual emergency are two different things. We will not generally, we will speak to the client and explain to them, hey, it's okay. I know you are stressed and worried and all these things, but actually this is the situation. So we'll see you in 2 days' time. And I think most of the time when they go, if you're not worried, then maybe I should chill a bit.
Yes. What they really want to do is hand this problem. They want some advice around here's my problem. Tell me what I have to do or how quickly I need to. Yeah, that's a good point. But I suppose to set up that expectation, Kylie, you've had to work out first what the rules are or what you will, accept and won't accept first, and then communicate them, to your clients, to your team, to everyone around you.
Yeah, and look, we're mean. We sound so mean. We don't bend a lot. Yesterday I had a client ring and say, can I come in half an hour earlier? And I was like, no, because I'm not going to get this bit done for this other client that I'm doing. And then I'm going to see you and come back, and it's not going to take me half an hour because I'm going to have stopped, and then it's going to take me an hour, and just no, sorry, you can't. And also, if I had said, yes, you can come in half an hour earlier, next time when he rings and says, can I come in half an hour earlier, and he actually can't, he'll be annoyed.
Yes.
So
yes. You
have to think about all of those things as well.
Yes.
So we are mean, like I'll be honest, but we're strict for a reason.
No, you're strict. You're not mean at all. There's not a mean bone in your body, Kyelie Baxter. So I think that's just being resolute with, if you work out what these rules are and what your structure will be, then be resolute to that, And I think I had a term that I was using with a particular client. I called it the rules of reasonableness. A lot of the time we're in that reactive mode and the client goes, I need this. And we go, okay. We shouldn't react that way. It's just take a step back, take a breath and go, okay, what's reasonable about this? Is it reasonable that I pick up the phone straight away when that crazy urgent email comes through? Or is it reasonable that I respond within 24 hours, which is my communication rule that my clients all know about? Is that reasonable? So it's that assessment again, just taking again that concept of taking some time to save some time. Again, there can be a little bit of a negotiation thing. Nothing is ever set in stone. I think I was talking to an accountant about that reaction with a client, and it's like, well, okay, she's thinking it's urgent. She wants to talk to you. Okay, great. She's got your attention. All right. What are we going to do about it and what's reasonable? I want you to go to, instead of firing back an email, yes, or picking up the phone, let's just look at this for a second. So we went to his calendar. We looked at his calendar and we picked out 3 spots of when he could phone her or visit her or whatever that looked like. This was a Tuesday morning. He picked a couple spots out, Friday, Thursday, and there was something on the next day. So I said to him, this is a bit of a negotiation thing, something, again, we don't, necessarily do as accountants. So when you respond to her, the positive thing, well, oh, that's great. I see that you've got that. We've got that under control. How about I come chat to you on Friday? And he goes, oh, no, it sounds like she wants to be, she needs to talk to me right now. And anyway, I said, while I was sitting there, I said, oh, just do it. Just try it. Anyway, the client shot back the email. Oh, great. That's fine. Thank you so much. So it's our own reactive behavior around that. And, particularly when we're in a state of overwhelm, we'll be even more reactive, creating even more overwhelm. So, yeah, be careful of that. I think rules of reasonableness. Just take a few seconds to have a look. Gosh, we've chewed up our hour already, Kyelie. How quickly does that go? Oh, my gosh. Yes, we are. Look, if anybody had any last minute questions for us or wanted to say hello, please come up now. Here's your last chance. But let's tell you what's happening over the next couple of weeks. Kyelie and I are going to have a well-deserved break for just a few weeks over the Christmas and New Year period, but we will certainly be back early in January with some great topics. The topics already listed there in Clubhouse if you're interested to know what we're up to. But on Wednesday, 12th of January, that'll be the first one that we're coming back to chat to you about. We're talking about how to get the most out of your team. So a little bit of a reset, a little rethink for the start of 2022. But what I do want you to look out for is the following week, which is goal setting, how to tackle 2022 and completely conquer it. So that'll be a great one as well. So some really cool topics to kick off the new year. And I can see Carolyn's just raised her hand there. Hi, Carolyn, if you're hanging around. Sorry, I'm a bit slow with the raising of the hands this morning. I'm juggling a few things. Here she is.
Linda and Kyelie.
Hi, Carolyn.
Hi.
I'm sorry, it's a bit noisy with my family here.
That's all
I
right.
just wanted to wish you both a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and thank you for a great Clubhouse room.
Oh, thank you, Carolyn. We wish you a Merry Christmas too. We love chatting to everybody. So everybody, certainly from myself, have a very Merry Christmas. Have a safe New Year. If you're on the roads, please travel safe. It's a busy time of year, and enjoy some time with your families. Thank you, Kyelie, amazingest co-host ever. Thank you so much. And would you like to sign off as well?
Yeah, thank you, Linda. So those of you in the room that don't know, Linda does all the work and I just show up. So she is the real deal, and I just rock up every Wednesday morning. So thank you, Linda, and ditto everything you said. said, I hope everyone stays safe and has a wonderful Christmas and New Year's. And we will see you back here on the 12th of January.
We
take
will.
Care, everyone. Bye.
Take care, everybody. Have a great week and enjoy your run up to Christmas. Talk to you all. See you all in the new year. Bye.